Hi everyone and welcome to Now That's Just Gay. If you've been with us before, welcome back. If you are new and this is your first time watching, my name is Mark and this is my Daddy Diary episode 40. First up, I think an apology is owed to all of those people who were already watching the Daddy Diaries, who were tuning in every week to come and see how we were getting on as a two-dad family and how Sophie was getting on, our little daughter. In all honesty, I just needed a break. I had a lot going on. As you know, I was planning a Walt Disney World holiday, which I'll get into that a bit later. We also had a kind of a last minute move of home. An opportunity came up which was too good to refuse, so we jumped on that, and obviously moving house can be very, very stressful. And I just needed a bit of a break from the weekly Daddy Diary thing. I kind of felt like I was getting into a point where I wasn't really talking about anything each week. You know, it was like, Sophie's doing great. I don't know, that was maybe more in my head. I know a lot of people were enjoying those updates and just seeing how things were going. But yeah, I just needed a bit of a break for me to focus on some other things. But I'm back. I am going to carry on doing the Daddy Diaries. Another part of it was obviously on reflection, looking back, and I was like, oh, now I'm going to have there's 3 months where I've not got that little thing where I was just talking about the silly things or the minutiae of the day-to-day of being a parent. And I don't want to get further down the line and regret that I've got a gap there. I probably will, but you know what I mean. So even if it is just minutiae, look, this week was okay, you know, that's still something I can reflect on in the future. So yes, the Daddy Diaries are returning. Yay! Or no, for some of you, maybe, who knows. And of course, I welcome you along for the ride. Now, as an update on Sophie, she is doing wonderfully. She's now 14 months old, which is terrifying because I actually don't know where the last year and a bit has gone. It's absolutely flown by. And as many of you may remember, if you were watching previously, we had planned to take her out to Walt Disney World for her first birthday. Yes, we were crazy taking a less than 1-year-old on a 9-hour flight to Florida. Obviously, I'm not going to get into that right here because I'm covering all of that in a completely different video, which is our vlog series called A Family Adventure Walt Disney World 2019. I'm going to pop a link down in the description bar bit, which will take you to the playlist of the Walt Disney World series if you want to go and see it. And there will also be a quick link right at the very end of this video after some clips of Sophie. So aside from Walt Disney World, Sophie is doing incredibly. She isn't quite walking just yet, because I know that's going to be one of the things that people ask, is she walking yet? Not quite yet, but she is literally, I feel like it could happen any time soon because she's pulling herself up, she's moving along furniture kind of gingerly, but she's definitely getting stronger and stronger on her legs. It's so hard to know when they're going to start walking because everyone tells you different things. Like, you can go and ask 10 friends who've got kids when their little one started walking and get 10 very different answers. Even Lisa, who was our surrogate, she's got 3 children, and between the 3 of them, they had quite a big range of difference between when they started walking. So it's just one of those things. I'm not stressed and I'm not worried about it, but we are kind of waiting with bated breath now for her to start walking because that's going to be so exciting and terrifying because even crawling, she gets everywhere. If there was any child that feels that the world is their oyster, it's definitely Sophie. She likes to be in everything, pulling at everything, touching everything. You know, she just doesn't stop, which it's amazing and it's so endearing to watch. She's like, she is such a little character now. That's how she's doing in terms of walking. In terms of feeding, she is quite happily feeding herself. Now, she does need a little bit of assistance with the spoon, but it got to a point where she wouldn't let us feed her with a spoon. anymore. She would scream at us until we handed over the spoon, and then chaos ensued because there was mess just everywhere, which again, part and parcel of being a parent and that sort of 1-year-old stage and when they start eating and whatnot. She's great on finger foods now, so she'll, like for lunch, she's having toast or whatever, you know, whatever you do for lunch. But I did want to just point out, this is a parenting win for me, totally personally, totally selfishly. She likes Marmite. Yes, she really likes Marmite. We tried it out. We got some of those little like toddler rice cakes. I think we got them in Asda, and they do Marmite flavoured ones for kids. I've had the adult ones, but they actually do miniature ones for kids, and they are in the baby aisle. And she really enjoyed those, so I was like, yay. I was having a Marmite cheese, and she kind of gave me that look as if to say, Daddy, you're eating and you're not giving me anything. Where's mine? So I gave her a bit of that, and she really, really went to town on the Marmite cheese, the little cheddar things. And then, so I thought, well, let's just go all in and see how she gets on with Marmite on toast. And she loved it. That's a parenting win, because I was praying she was going to be a Marmite lover, because those of you that know me know I am a huge Marmite lover. I love the stuff, and I'll try anything that's got some kind of Marmite thing involved, because I just love Marmite. Sad? Maybe. Don't care. I love it. So yeah, she's doing absolutely great with her eating, and we've been really, really impressed with how quickly that's developed. There's a part of me that kind of, there is a part of both of us that wants her to slow down a little bit on that, because it's another one of those things that she's no longer going to be dependent on us for, and so you kind of feel a bit like, oh, you don't need me for that now. She doesn't really need us for her milk anymore. She's quite happy to just take the bottle off you and go and plonk herself down wherever she fancies, which again is another thing, because that's a huge part of that bonding time when they're so young, is that you're holding them and feeding them, whether it's breastfed or bottle fed, doesn't matter. It's still a massive bonding moment, because you're holding them and you're close and all of that stuff. So when they no longer need you to do that, it's kind of a little bit heartbreaking. We are sort of clinging to it, particularly the evening feed. When we do her milk, we do still like, no, please, just lay with me. I know you don't want to. I know you just want to go and sit down there with your toys, but please, just give us this one. It's really bad. Not like, it's totally selfish. It's just because we want to feel needed still. And of course she does need us for so many other things. So like, perspective here, people, you know, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that big a deal. It's just processing that all and getting used to how quickly she's changing. So yeah, she's doing great on that. Sleeping through the night, apart from if she's not feeling well, for the most part, she is as regular as clockwork in terms of her sleeping. She goes to bed at a set time. She wakes up roughly around exactly the same time, regardless of what time she goes to bed. And so we've got no complaints with sleeping. She actually handled the move. She handled the trip to Florida, and all of those things that you think might have an effect on things like sleeping. No effect whatsoever. We did have a couple of nights when we got back from Florida. I think she was just a little bit out of sorts, because we was like, she was trying to work out the time thing. And she also had a bit of a cold when we got back. So that kind of, it didn't help, played into it. So again, I think it's more that she just wasn't feeling well, and that was affecting her sleep, as opposed to the time differences, purely on the basis that when we went to Florida, she was fine. Like, it just didn't faze her. We kept her up late that very first night that we were there. We kept her up to 8 p.m. their time, and she was fine. So we were grateful for that. She is sleeping well. I'm trying to think of any other kind of development updates to give you guys. The only other thing I can really think of is, obviously, she had her 1-year jabs. Now, I've mentioned it in previous videos, I do have reservations about giving such small children so many different immunisations at once, because they kind of combine a lot of them now. Like this one had MMR and boosters for 3 others. She had to have 4 jabs in one go. And I'm totally not an anti-immunisation or an anti-vaccine person. I don't want to get into that because that's a minefield I'm not playing with. I'm not anti-vaccine, I have some worries about the fact that, you know, you give them so much all at once. But then obviously I'm not a medical professional, so I just take my advice from those medical professionals. It's usually a good way forward, I think. She did really well when she had the jabs. Like, she barely even cried. Like, she let out a yelp on the first one, but it was over so quickly and everything. And she was fine, because we were expecting drama, because as you may remember, those of you who've already watched, she does have a set of lungs on her. And that has also developed with everything else. That set of lungs, wow, when she screams and lets out this really like high-pitched, ear-shredding, piercing, deafening tone, you know, that's definitely developed. And that's what we was expecting when she got the jabs. And we was kind of also expecting a bit of a look as if to say, why have you done this to me? Yeah, she kind of just, meh, whatever, and was fine with it. Until a couple of days later. Now, we had been pre-warned that initially she'll be fine. She'll probably be feeling a bit groggy after about 48 hours, and that would last for 2 to 3 days. And by my word, did it. Wow, that was a really challenging few days, because she wasn't sleeping properly, she wasn't really wanting her food, she wasn't even wanting her milk, and it was just very stressful for us more than anything, because you could see she clearly weren't happy, and there really isn't a lot you can do besides give them Calpol and lots of love. There's really not much you can do when they're in that state. So it was stressful for us, because I think that guilt of not being able to do more comes out. And then obviously that passed, and a few people, now not everyone had warned us of this one, like they didn't mention it at the doctors at the time, but a few people had mentioned to us that you will also see after about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, it seems to repeat, and you have another sort of 3 to 4 days where they are a handful. And she definitely lived up to that one. I think she was actually probably worse on the second time around than she was the first, which was a bit odd. I kind of figured that it would be either the same or less, but no, I think that's as the vaccines start working and doing their thing, it obviously triggers another bit of uncomfortableness. And we had a couple of nights. There was one night in particular where she stayed up the entire night crying. And that was absolutely soul destroying, because the only night she's been like that, where she's like not really slept and cried so much, is the very first night that she was born and we were in the hospital, and obviously everything was new, and you know, that's the first time that's happened since then. So it kind of took us right back a year to that night, and it was like, oh God, it feels like we're starting all over again. And that's not something I want to do. Like, I have loved every minute, barring a second. Every minute barring a second I have loved of raising her. But I don't think I want to repeat it again just yet. So the whole idea of going back to how things were 14 months ago was soul destroying. It wasn't much fun. So if you have got children that are, or babies that are going to be having their 1 year jabs, just be ready for it. I don't think there's anything you can do to prepare for it. Just be ready that it could get insanely intense, and it may even remind you of the very first night you had them. I didn't really get warned. I didn't realise it was going to be that bad. So there's my bit of advice and my warning to you. Make of that whatever you may. And that kind of rounds up Sophie's development. She's doing so well, and obviously I've said it time and time again, we absolutely adore her, just like any parent adores their children. And we have that kind of extra thing where we meet up with Lisa, who was the surrogate for us, and so Lisa gets to see her growing, and Lisa's one of the first to tell us that it's clear Sophie is such a happy child. And we get that a lot. We got that a lot in Florida, that she was such a happy child, that she was so smiley. And there is one bit I will mention, because it wasn't in the vlog series. There was one lady when we were having a character breakfast with Stitch, and she actually came over and said it's clear to see that she's very happy with her two daddies. And to have a complete random stranger come up and say that, I'm not going to cry. It meant it meant a lot to us. Obviously, people do tell us we've got such a wonderful, fantastic support network around us, and you know, everyone's been so supportive and so wonderful, and everyone talks about how wonderful Sophie has been and how lovely she is. But when it comes from a complete stranger like that, completely off the bat, you know, it meant a hell of a lot, and that will obviously always stand out as one of those massive memories. That there were so many, it's ridiculous. Go watch the vlog series because I want to get into it all again. She's a really happy young lady. I kind of still want to say newborn. She's not. She's clearly not a newborn anymore. She's a very, very content little girl, and we couldn't be any happier. I think that's pretty much it in terms of her development. If I have missed something, or there is something you want to know about, drop us a comment down below, and I'll answer any questions. Talking about questions, because as well as having a big gap on the whole Daddy Diary front, I haven't done a Q&A since the 3 to 6 month period. Sorry, I was supposed to do one at the 9-month period, and people did send questions, but again, that kind of got wrapped up in that period of time where I just needed a bit of a break from it all. So if you did send questions, I am really, really sorry that I didn't do that video and answer your questions. However, I am going to do a Q&A session, and that will cover the first year of her life. But obviously, if you've got any kind of questions for me, or even for Mark, obviously he won't appear on camera because he doesn't like it, but I will ask him questions and I can feed them back through the Q&A session. So if you have any questions for the next Q&A session, again, pop them in the comments down below, and I'm hoping to put that together kind of early December. So that gives you a couple of weeks. If you've got any questions, or if you want to have a think of some questions, pop them down below and we'll do another Q&A session, because I actually really enjoyed doing those, because it's quite interesting to find out the things that you guys want to know about. Comment, questions, yay! I thought as well, because obviously this is my Daddy Diary, as well as talking about Sophie's development, one of the things I don't always talk about, I talk about how I'm feeling in relation to her, but I don't really go much further than that. If that is something that you're interested in and what I've been getting up to, by all means, again, drop it in the comments down below. I'm kind of opening this up for any suggestions of content that you would like to see, besides the kind of the family adventures, the daddy adventures, the inspired by Disney stuff, which I'm going to be doing a bit more of. If there's anything more that you want to see from us, or something you think we could be doing that could be valid and you would be interested in seeing it, again, pop it down in the comments below and I'll have a look at it and see what we can do. I'm doing great too. Mark's doing great. Obviously, like I say, we've moved. You'll notice a completely different setting. The big castle, we did bring it with us. It's just, it's not up on a wall or anything yet. I'm going to be having a sort of proper little studio thing happening, fingers crossed, in the new year, if everything goes to plan. And so I'll be able to have my castle back up. We've got my Lego castle for now, so you know, it's all good, and all my books, my Disney books. So we moved house, we're doing great. We really love the fact that we've actually got a garden as well. Obviously the weather's rubbish at the moment, but we love the fact we've got a garden to let Sophie go and run around in when it's dry and things like that. Overall, we're all doing really, really well. And I think, you know, when push comes to shove, there's things that come up, just like there is for everyone, you know, stressors and aggravators and things that happen in our day-to-day lives. But generally speaking, we count our lucky stars. We are so thankful for everything we have and the family that we have now. Sophie is our world, and we wouldn't have it any other way. I think I'm going to leave it there for this one. Of course, as always, thank you so much for watching. Definitely thank you if you're coming back after a big massive gap and wondering what on earth had happened to us until like the odd video would crop up. Thank you for sparing with us. Thank you for watching, and Of course, if you've enjoyed this video, give us a big thumbs up, and if you want to continue to see content from us, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!